So, I am going to be doing a review on the AT-AT. So, this set released in August of 2020 for a retail price of $170, and this set retired in December of 2023. And if you want the set new, still in the box, you should be expecting to pay around $200. And this has set number 75288, 6 minifigures, 1,267 pieces, and an age rating of 10 plus. So, our first figure is Luke Skywalker. And I mean, it is a decent minifigure. The printing on his torso and legs are fine. And the print on his helmet does look pretty good. And so does his face print with the visor printed on his face. And his second face is just him with the visor up. And his back print is fine. And one small issue I have with the figure is that for some reason LEGO gave the figure black hands when in the movie, in his snowspeeder outfit, he has white gloves. So LEGO should have given the figure white hands. And another is a small nitpick, but still. And if you're curious, the printing for his torso and legs is actually different than his normal X-Wing outfit. We also get General Veers. And this is a very good minifigure. I do like his whole sand blue helmet. I think it looks pretty good, and the printing for the visor on it. And his face print, I feel like also looks pretty nice. And I do like the print on his torso with the sand blue chest plate. And his back print does look pretty good. And so does his second face, which is just a bit more of a stern expression. But I only really have one complaint with this figure, and that's just I wish he included dual molded legs. Just because this makes the figure look a lot better. And LEGO did actually include it on the General Veers in the UCS AT-AT. We also get two AT-AT drivers. And they are pretty good minifigures. I definitely like their whole light gray and sand blue color scheme. I think that looks pretty nice. And the printing on the torso and legs does look pretty good. I do like how the tube on the torso extends down to the legs. And the helmets do look very nice. I do like the printing on them. And one detail that is pretty hard to notice is that they actually have one dark red tooth in the middle. But one issue I have with these helmets is that they still have the massive gap at the back, which doesn't look particularly the best. But the back print, it does look pretty good. And if you're curious, these are the face prints. And finally, we get two snowtroopers. And first off, I am a bit disappointed that we only get two of them. I just feel like there should have been a couple more included. But I mean, they are pretty good figures. The printing on the torso and legs do look very nice. And but they do have printed waist capes, which I'm still not the biggest fan of. They don't look as bad as the clone troopers. And I am a very big fan of these helmets. I think they look very nice. And the back prints do look pretty good. And if you're curious, these are the face prints. Overall, this is a pretty good minifigure selection. I feel like all of the figures were done pretty well. I only really have minor complaints about them, like with General Veers not having dual molded legs and Luke Skywalker having the wrong colored gloves. But otherwise, they are pretty good. It's just, I feel like there definitely should have been a couple more snowtroopers included. Especially considering the set is $170, and there is a lot of room to put them inside the AT-AT. But now for the actual builds. Included in the set is actually an E-Web cannon. And I mean, it does look pretty cool actually. This is definitely one of the better E-Web cannons. And the whole stand does look pretty nice. And so does the barrel. Looks pretty good. And also the whole trigger area. I mean, overall, it is pretty nice. You can, of course, have a snowtrooper hold on to it. And I mean, they do look pretty cool. Alright, so first off, I want to say the build is massive. I would say it's about the size of your average house cat, just with longer legs. And speaking of the legs, they do actually look pretty nice. I definitely like all the detailing they were able to put, and those little dish pieces. But a lot of times, those ones at the top can pop off pretty easily. And you can see the back of the legs are just all Technic, which, you know, is fine. And the feet do look pretty nice. Also at the back, there is that little thing, which I assume is some sort of hydraulic. Of course, the thing has some nice posability. So there's one right there in the knee, so you can move it like that. And one right up there. So you can pose all the legs. And you can actually move the feet a bit, but not too much, just because they are going to end up falling flat. And one issue I find with this whole thing is that not all positions will actually work, just because a lot of times the whole thing will just like collapse from its own weight. So if you want to find a good looking position, if you put this thing on a base plate or something, it's going to be a bit difficult. Now for the head of the AT-AT. First off, the whole front of it doesn't look too bad actually, except the visor. It's just way too thin, so it looks like it's just squinting. And that's really annoying just because LEGO could have added just this one piece and it would have made it look far better. Just like that. And the side of it does look pretty nice. There's, of course, the cannon right there, which you can move a bit. And there are two more cannons right there at the front. And this being LEGO Star Set, it, of course, has spring-loaded shooters, which are right there. And we all know how those work. You just push down and then they fire. And luckily, I feel like those ones aren't too much of an eyesore just because they are a bit hidden. And the neck does look pretty nice. It does actually have this interesting thing where it will kind of automatically go back to the middle, which I think is actually pretty cool. But the back of the head is not nearly as pretty. You can, of course, open the top up and put in some figures. So this is the actual interior. There's not too much. As you can see, there are a couple control panels. And this is actually the first AT-AT where you can actually fit both AT-AT drivers and general viewers. And I mean, they are a bit cramped in there. You can even see their helmets pushing up against the wall. It is still kind of cool that all of the figures can fit in. And you can, of course, close it up. And so for the exterior of the main body, it does look pretty good, but I'm not a huge fan of those blue Technic pins all around the build. They don't look particularly the best, but I mean, the panelings on the sides do look pretty nice. They did even replicate this little ladder type thing, and of course, this. And probably one of the coolest features is that this whole thing does actually have the grappling hook, where Luke grabs onto. So you just open the top up right here, and you can see a little gear. And you can push it, where you can lower it, or spin it the other way, and it pulls up. And you can, of course, have Luke hanging on it, which looks pretty cool. But I will say, tying the knot to the gun and to the gear was not very fun. But you can, of course, lift Luke up, and there's actually the hatch right here, where Luke would slice open and throw the thermal detonator in. There was actually one included in the set, but there isn't really a spot to put it in there. I guess you could, like, shove it in and then close the hatch, but, you know, it is still a very cool feature. And if you're curious, this is the underside, and that's where the string for Luke's grappling hook goes. And the top wasn't detailed much. Now for the actual interior. First off, I want to say, I love the way that you actually open the door. So, you just grab it, then it folds out and upwards, just like that. And the same goes for the other side. And there is actually quite a bit of interior space. You can actually see where Luke's string is right there, and there are 3 seats there and 2 on the other side. But there are only 2 snowtroopers included, so there are still 3 empty seats, which is why I feel like there should have been a couple more snowtroopers included. But luckily, just 1 snowtrooper battle pack should be more than enough. And they do use these nice sand blue chairs, which do look pretty good. And the other side is essentially the same, except for that thing right there. And I want to say the top is actually more angled. It's supposed to look like this, but I lost my original one, so I had to quickly rebuild it, and I couldn't find those pieces in time. But that thing is actually meant to store the cannon, which you can put in just like that. I mean, it doesn't look particularly the best, but I still think it looks kind of cool. And you might have noticed the speeder right there. And you actually access the speeder through the butt of the AT-AT, which is kind of funny. The back of the AT-AT does actually look kind of cool. I do like all of the detailing on it. But to actually get the speeder out, you open this part up and fold this down. And you can grab the speeder, just like that. And there's actually that megafin piece right there, which just slides in between those rails. And the actual speeder, I would say, looks okay. It doesn't look bad or anything. It just, I feel like the speeder in the Snowtrooper Battle Pack just looks a lot better. But I mean, you can see your Snowtrooper right there and have him grab onto the handlebars, just like this. And I mean, they don't look too bad. I do like the little front things. Not really sure exactly what these are. And there are, of course, the pedals, which the minifigure obviously cannot reach. But I mean, it looks pretty cool. But one thing this thing has going for it is because it has the microphone piece in the middle, it can actually just sit up on its own, which the newer speeder cannot do. But should you pick up the set? I mean, if you have been planning to buy an AT-AT, I would definitely say go for this one, just because it's the best Playsko AT-AT that we have gotten. The build looks great. I don't really have any complaints about it. Only a couple ones like the visor, but my major complaint is just the legs. I feel like in a lot of cases they can be very flimsy, so when you're trying to mess around with the build, they can just like collapse and crumple down. Even when the thing is just displayed on a base plate or something, if you try to put it in any position besides just straight up, there's a very high likelihood of the whole thing just collapsing, which is a bit annoying. But I mean, yeah, I'd recommend that you pick up the set. The only other AT-AT I would maybe recommend is just the walking one, because that one can, walk. But I would say that this one is probably better. But if you have a lot of money you can spend, or you like to make poor financial decisions, then I would say buy the UCS one. But overall, I would give this set a 9.5 out of 10.